Dear soul, I am so grateful you are here, because this message couldn't have arrived at a more important time. I come to you not by chance, but because heaven itself whispered your name. You were guided to this very moment, because something is unfolding behind the veil, and if you do not listen to what I am about to share with you, truly listen, you may miss a truth that could change everything. Yes, a painful choice was made, and you may have felt it, the sudden distance, the silence that echoed louder than any word, the ache in your chest that kept you wondering, why? Today, I came to bring the answer you've been waiting for, not just part of it, but all of it. But you must stay with me until the end, because each word I'm about to reveal builds upon the last. If you leave before it's finished, you'll only hear a fragment, and your soul deserves so much more than fragments. It deserves the whole truth. There is a reason your heart keeps returning to this connection. There's a reason you felt something unexplainable pulling at your spirit. What you're about to hear may shift the way you see everything that has happened. But more than that, it will prepare you for what is coming. I want you to feel this message not just in your mind, but in your soul. So if your heart is open, if you are ready to hear what heaven has been longing to tell you, then write Amen in the comments. Say out loud that you receive this message. Declare that you are open, because once you do, the energy begins to move, and what was once hidden will start to be revealed. The one your soul has been calling out to, the one you believed was walking away, didn't leave out of lack of love. No, what they did was something far more complex, far more sacred, and far more painful than you might have realized. But before I can tell you exactly why they made that choice, you need to understand what the angels saw in the silence. Stay with me, dear soul. Everything is about to make sense. Dear soul, now that you are here, now that your heart is open and listening, let me take you back to a moment that few saw, a moment that echoes deeply in the spirit realm, a moment soaked in silence, wrapped in doubt, and marked by hidden tears. There was a night, not long ago, when your soulmate sat alone, overwhelmed by an invisible weight pressing down on their chest. They didn't say a word. They couldn't. The silence was not a rejection. It was the only language they had left. Their heart was breaking, but they believed they had to stay quiet. They believed that if they spoke the truth they carried, it might hurt even more. So they chose silence. You may have felt it, the sudden quiet, the emotional distance, the messages slowing down, the unexplained change in rhythm. You may have asked yourself, what did I do wrong? Why did everything shift so suddenly? But, my dear, you must know now, it wasn't your fault. It was never about something you said or failed to say. It was about a war happening inside your soulmate, one they didn't know how to win, and they were trying to protect you from it. That night, they stared into nothing, and yet, in their mind, they saw everything, every memory with you, every moment you smiled, every dream you both quietly shared. They clutched at those memories like a drowning soul clutches at the air, hoping it would be enough to keep them from slipping away. But the doubt grew louder, not doubt in their love for you. No, that love has never wavered. It was doubt in themselves, doubt in their worthiness, doubt in whether they could truly give you the future you deserve. So they cried. They cried not because they wanted to leave, but because they felt they had no other choice. And not a single tear was seen by the world. It was a secret grief, a silent scream from a soul that didn't know how to express the chaos inside. They asked the universe. They pleaded with the heavens for guidance. They begged, what do I do? How do I love this person without hurting them with my own brokenness? What you felt as distance was in truth a heart that loved so deeply, it thought stepping away was an act of protection. Yes, your soulmate thought that walking away might save you from what they were battling internally. They believed in that moment that they were doing the right thing, but their soul trembled with the decision. The angels saw it all. They watched as your soulmate sat in the dark, whispering your name to the stars, hoping you would feel it in your dreams. They held their hands over their face and whispered apologies you never heard, not because they didn't want to say them, but because they thought you were better off not knowing the depth of their pain. And maybe you felt abandoned. Maybe you've asked the heavens why you're the one left waiting, aching, questioning, and I understand your pain. I do. But if you could have seen what I saw, if you could have stood beside your soulmate during that long, silent night, you would have felt a pain so raw and a love so real that it would have silenced every doubt in your heart. Because this was never about giving up. This was never about choosing a life without you. This was about fear. This was about feeling unworthy. This was about a deep desire to love you the right way, even if it meant stepping back. They doubted themselves, not their feelings for you. And I know you've had nights where you stared at the ceiling, wondering if everything was just in your head. But no, my dear soul, it wasn't. You were always felt, always remembered, always loved, even in the silence, even in the absence, even in the heartbreak, and most especially, in the tears they never showed you. The doubt wasn't mutual, it was one-sided. While you held on, they let go, not because they wanted to, but because they feared holding on would eventually hurt you. Can you feel the weight of that love now? A love that chooses your well-being above its own desires? And yes, it hurt you. Yes, it confused you. But today, the heavens want you to know the other side of the story, the side that remained hidden in silence. The side that was never meant to feel like a goodbye, but a pause, a space to breathe, to heal, to prepare for something deeper. Because what they were afraid to say is that you are their light, that they've never known a connection so pure, so soul-deep, so divinely timed. But love, real love, doesn't always come dressed in perfect timing. Sometimes it comes when the soul is still mending, still learning, still shedding layers of fear. And that's what happened. Your soulmate stood at a crossroads. One path meant holding you close and risking the chance of hurting you with their shadows. The other meant stepping away to face their own reflection and hoping, praying, that you would still be there when they found their way back. They chose the second path. Painful? Yes, but it was the path of transformation, a path not many are brave enough to walk. So now you know, the silence was not empty. The distance was not rejection. It was filled with aching, with tears, with hope, and most importantly, it was filled with love. Love too powerful, too overwhelming, too sacred to be carried carelessly. But the story is not over. There is more to reveal, because the choice they made, the one that broke both your hearts, is not the end. In fact, it was just the beginning of something far more extraordinary. And in the next moment, I will show you why that painful decision, as difficult as it was, held within it the seeds of your deepest reunion. Stay with me. The truth you've been seeking is just ahead. And before we continue with this very special message, I invite you to support this space of connection. Become a member of the channel. And if you feel this message is touching your heart, don't forget to click on thanks below the video. This helps us continue bringing messages full of love and hope like this one. Now, let's move on to what matters most. Dear soul, now that you've seen the tears that no one saw, now that you've felt the silence for what it truly was, we must move even deeper. We must go beyond the surface of this pain to understand the true origin of the decision your soulmate made, a decision that may have shattered your heart, but one that was never made out of absence of love. No, this was never about walking away from love. In truth, it was a choice born out of love so profound that it could no longer survive in its incomplete form. What your soulmate felt was not rejection, but a calling to confront their own shadows so they would not cast them onto your shared path. And that decision, though it looked like distance, was actually a surrender to something greater, something spiritual, something sacred. They didn't stop loving you. In fact, it was because they loved you so fiercely that they couldn't pretend anymore. There came a moment when they looked at their reflection and saw the parts of themselves that were still broken, still lost, still unhealed. And in that moment, they asked themselves, how can I love someone so completely when I don't even know if I'm whole? They feared becoming a weight to you. They feared that their presence, instead of uplifting you, might drain you. They saw in you a light, a purity, a future, and they felt unworthy of it, not because you made them feel that way, but because they hadn't yet learned to see themselves through your loving eyes. So they stepped back, not to leave you, but to find the strength to return as someone better, someone more aligned with the love you both deserve. It was not abandonment, it was transformation. You see, love isn't always about holding on tightly. Sometimes it's about letting go in order to grow. And your soulmate knew, even if only in the quiet corners of their spirit, that love without inner peace becomes chaos. They didn't want to bring you chaos. They wanted to offer you calm, presence, devotion. But first, they had to rediscover it within themselves. There was a day, one the angels witnessed, when they stood in front of their own truth and trembled. Their heart was still full of you, but their soul knew it wasn't ready. Not for the kind of love you carry. Not yet. And instead of faking strength or pretending they were ready for forever, they chose honesty. They chose the path that hurt both of you temporarily, rather than one that might destroy you in the long term. And how courageous that was, because it takes strength to walk away from the one person who feels like home, especially when your whole being longs to stay. It takes divine bravery to admit, I love you, but I need to heal before I can love you the way you deserve. And that's what happened, dear soul. That's the truth behind the painful choice. It wasn't you. It wasn't your energy, your words, your effort. It was a reckoning of the spirit, a divine disruption meant to birth something purer later on. They saw what you two could become, and rather than settle for a version of love that would eventually crumble under the weight of unhealed wounds, they chose to protect your shared future by walking into the fire of their own growth. And yes, it hurt. It still hurts. But this was not a separation. It was a sacred pause. Think of it this way. When the soul undergoes deep transformation, everything on the surface must shift. The timeline, the closeness, the plans, it all becomes fluid, surrendered to the higher wisdom of the divine. And in that surrender, your soulmate asks the universe for something. Time. Time to heal. Time to understand. Time to become the person they feel you truly deserve. But what they never asked for, what they could never let go of, was the connection with you. Even now, they feel it. Even now, they carry you in moments of silence. Even now, they whisper your name into their prayers. They haven't forgotten you. They've simply been walking through a valley that only they could walk, so that when they return to you, they do it with a heart no longer fractured by fear, but strengthened by faith. This is not the end. It's not a rejection. It's a recalibration. What you need to understand is that love sometimes requires us to step into discomfort so that we can rise into alignment. And that's exactly what's happening. The path was never broken. It was simply being redirected, cleared of obstacles, cleared of illusions, cleared of expectations that weren't rooted in divine timing. And oh, dear soul, the timing is sacred. Because if they had stayed in that wounded space, the love you share might have turned into confusion, resentment, or even pain. But by choosing to step back, they preserved the purity of what you are. That choice was love, real love, mature love, brave love. And the angels want you to know that heaven does not look at this as abandonment. Heaven sees it as alignment. Yes, it hurts to wait. It hurts to wonder. But trust me when I say this. What is forming now in the quiet, what is being restructured in the spirit realm, is more powerful than anything you've yet experienced. And when the moment comes for you to reunite, it won't be as two half-filled vessels, but as two whole beings, ready to overflow into each other's lives, with peace, grace, and devotion. So please don't believe the lie that says they stopped loving you. They didn't. They loved you enough to risk losing you, just to become worthy of holding you the way your soul deserves. But you must stay with me, because what I will share next will show you what they felt in their soul the moment they walked away, and what they are still holding on to even now. There is more. There is always more, and it's waiting for you just ahead. Dear soul, now that you've come to understand the true depth behind that painful decision, I need you to open your heart even further, because what I'm about to reveal will show you the part of the story that no one else could see, what was hidden behind the quiet moments, the silences that lingered, the distance that grew without explanation. While you were wondering what went wrong, your soulmate was breaking inside. You must understand something essential now. They didn't walk away with ease. They didn't look at your connection and simply decide to disconnect. What happened was far more invisible, far more emotional, far more soul-deep. And because it happened in the realm of the heart, and not in words, it went unnoticed by the world, but not by the angels. Every step they took away from you cost them something sacred, and you need to know that. Because while you may have felt left behind, they never once stopped carrying you with them, in their thoughts, in their prayers, in their silent tears, In the quiet moments where they longed for you so deeply, it hurt to breathe. There were nights when they held their own hands just to mimic the feeling of holding yours. There were mornings when your name was the first thing they whispered into the space of their solitude. And no matter how much time passed or how far away they appeared to be, the truth is, they were never truly gone. They tried to convince themselves that you were better off without them, that you deserved someone whole, someone unburdened by the wounds they were still trying to heal. And yet, every time they tried to forget you, your presence only grew louder in their soul, because true love doesn't fade. It deepens in absence. They have suffered, dear soul, not because of anything you did, but because they knew the value of what you gave them. They knew what it meant to be seen by someone as pure and loving as you, and that truth haunted them. They couldn't understand why someone like you would choose someone like them, and in that confusion, they built a wall to protect you, a wall that also became their prison. Behind that wall, the pain festered. They wore a smile in public, said the right things, moved through life as though they were okay, but inside, they were carrying the ache of separation, the regret of silence, and the unbearable weight of love that had no place to go. No one knew, no one saw. Only the angels stood with them in those quiet hours. Only the heavens heard the whispers of your name when they thought no one else was listening. Only the divine felt the way they clutched at memories of you like a lifeline. And through it all, they never stopped asking, "Did I make the right choice?" Not once did that question leave their mind, because the pain they endured in choosing to step away didn't bring them peace. It only reminded them of the cost of growth, the cost of love, the cost of believing that in order to be worthy of someone's heart, you must first learn to embrace your own. You see, their suffering wasn't punishment, it was awakening. And as they cried, as they questioned, as they walked alone through the shadows of their past, something inside them began to shift. Not quickly, not easily, but slowly, gently, like a seed finally breaking through the soil after being buried in darkness. They began to see what they had been blind to before, that real love doesn't require perfection. It only asks for truth, for presence, for the courage to stay, even when staying is hard. And as this realization grew, so did their longing for you. Not the kind of longing that aches with desperation, but the kind that begins to understand the value of what was once taken for granted. And this is what you must know. Their suffering was not in vain. It was part of the journey, part of the divine unfolding that is preparing them to meet you once again. Not as someone afraid to love, but as someone who finally understands how to hold love with reverence. They miss you. They miss the way you understood them without needing to explain. They miss your laughter, your light, your calm energy. And they miss the way your presence made them feel like maybe, just maybe, they were worthy of being loved after all. But most of all, they miss who they were when they were with you. Because with you, they saw a version of themselves they wanted to become. A version they didn't yet believe they could sustain. And that's why they had to step away. To become that person not just for you, but for themselves. The angels want you to know that the silence wasn't empty. It was full of sacred transformation. That the absence wasn't abandonment. It was preparation. That the sorrow wasn't meaningless. It was refining their soul for something greater. Every tear they cried was a message. Every sleepless night a prayer. Every regret a signpost pointing back to you. And though they haven't said it out loud, their soul speaks it every day. I still love you. I always have. I always will. But don't go just yet, dear soul. Because what they saw, what they felt deep in their being that made them believe they had to walk away, was not just fear. It was something even more powerful. It was a vision, a glimpse of what this love could become, if they were willing to fight for it. And in the next part of this divine message, I will share with you exactly what your soulmate saw, and why that vision may have been the very reason they chose to let you go. Stay with me. The truth is still unfolding. Dear soul, now that you've seen the silent suffering, now that you've felt the tears your soulmate could never express with words, it's time to reveal the deeper truth, the truth that goes beyond emotion, beyond pain, beyond fear. Because what drove your soulmate to make that heartbreaking choice was not simply doubt. It was a spiritual vision, one that they were not prepared for, but could not ignore. There was a moment, one quiet and profound, when your soulmate was given a glimpse, an inner vision that changed everything. It didn't come with thunder. It didn't shout. It came like a whisper in the stillness, like light breaking through fog. In that moment, they saw not just you and them together, but the future you were meant to share. And what they saw was powerful, beautiful, and overwhelming. They saw love, yes, but more than love, they saw responsibility. They saw the kind of emotional and spiritual bond that doesn't just make life sweeter. It demands honesty, vulnerability, transformation. And in the face of that vision, they were afraid. Not because they didn't want it, but because they didn't know if they were truly ready for it. They asked themselves, what if I ruin this? What if I'm not enough to hold something this sacred? You see, that vision didn't show them fantasy. It showed them truth. And the truth was, your connection is not ordinary. It is destined. It is written. And with that kind of connection comes the pressure of becoming who you're meant to be. Not for appearances, not for comfort, but for love in its most elevated, soul-aligned form. And in that moment of spiritual clarity, they knew something had to change. Not in you, but in themselves. They saw that if they stayed as they were, carrying unresolved pain, fears, patterns, they would sabotage what was meant to be sacred, and they couldn't bear the thought of hurting you like that. So they made a choice, a painful one, a lonely one, but one that came from a place of deep soul awareness. This was not the kind of vision that brings peace, at least not at first. It brought chaos. It brought inner confrontation. It brought a storm that no one else could see, because awakening to the truth of a soul connection also means awakening to the responsibility of honoring it. And they weren't ready, not yet. So they stepped back, hoping that time would give them what they lacked: the strength to grow, the courage to heal, the wisdom to return when they were no longer afraid of their own heart. But even in that retreat, the vision never left them. They saw your eyes in their dreams. They heard your voice in moments of stillness. They felt your energy walking beside them in the quiet places of their soul. And they carried that vision like a hidden fire, always burning, always guiding them back to you. The angels watched as they wrestled with the contrast between their love for you and their fear of not being enough. And it broke their heart, because all they wanted was to hold you, to choose you. But they couldn't do it halfway. Not with you. Not with something this divine. So they prayed. For clarity. For strength. For a sign. And heaven listened. And now, dear soul, the message is this. Their choice to walk away was not a rejection of the vision. It was a sacred pause, so they could become aligned with it. They saw something real, something eternal, and they feared they weren't ready to honor it in the way it deserved. So they stepped away, not to forget, not to detach, but to prepare, to do the inner work necessary to become someone who could walk beside you without fear, without pretending, without needing to hide. And yes, you've suffered, you've waited, you've questioned, but that vision didn't only come to them. It's coming to you now, too. Can you feel it? That inner knowing, that this connection is not done, that despite everything, something inside you still believes. That's because your soul has already seen the same future. You just didn't recognize it yet. But now, as you hear these words, something is awakening in you too, a memory of what your souls agreed upon long before this lifetime. A sacred union, a divine love, a promise sealed in the stars. But promises require preparation, and that's what this season has been about. Your soulmate was not running away from you. They were running toward the version of themselves they hope to bring back to you, the version that won't flinch when things get hard, the version that won't shut down when fears arise, the version that will stand in front of you with open hands, open heart, and say, I am here now, fully, truly, worthily. And they are getting closer to that moment. Because the vision didn't fade, it deepened. The more time passed, the clearer it became. They know what they walked away from, and now they know what they're walking toward. The angels are aligning the path. Heaven is preparing the space. And soon, your heart will no longer have to wonder, because the truth that was once hidden will begin to manifest before your eyes. But you must stay with me, because what I will show you next is how the very pain that tore you apart is being transformed into the very force that will bring you back together, stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. The vision was never the end. It was the beginning. And now, Something sacred is unfolding. Dear soul, now that you've glimpsed the vision that awakened your soulmate's heart, it's time to understand the deeper mystery behind everything you've endured. Because none of this pain was random, none of these tears were wasted, and nothing that happened between you was ever meant to destroy you. It was meant to prepare you both for something greater, something sacred, something unshakable. What you've been walking through has not been separation. It has been transformation. This was not a detour. It was the way. And while it may have felt like your heart was being shattered, the truth is, it was being reshaped. Not into something smaller, but into something bigger, more capable of holding divine love. Because that is what this is, dear soul. Divine love. The kind of love that doesn't just feel good, but heals. The kind that doesn't come to keep you comfortable, but comes to awaken your soul. And that awakening, it hurts. It burns away illusions. It breaks open the false stories we've told ourselves about worthiness and timing and control. It shakes the very foundation of our hearts, so that the structure we build together will not be based on fear, but on truth. It tests our patience, challenges our trust, and reveals where we are still holding on to expectations instead of surrendering to purpose. But here is what the angels want you to know now. This pain you've felt has not pushed your soulmate further away. It has begun to draw them closer. Because through the ache, through the silence, through the days of wondering if this connection was lost, something divine has been happening. Their soul has been remembering, your heart has been opening, and heaven has been working behind the scenes, aligning things in ways you cannot yet see. Your soulmate was not taken from you. The bond was not broken. What happened is that the connection was placed in the hands of the divine for safekeeping, so it could be refined, purified, and made strong enough to carry both of you through the next season of your journey. There is a sacred truth I need you to hear right now. Pain in the hands of the divine always becomes purpose. It may have felt like loss, but what you were actually being given was space. Space to grow, space to realign, space to become the version of yourself that could receive the kind of love your soul was always meant for. And the same is true for them. Their decision to step back wasn't just about fear, it was also about love. Love so deep that it knew it had to be nurtured first within themselves before it could be shared freely. And in their absence, something in them began to shift. They started to recognize that you were never asking for perfection. You were asking for truth, presence, realness. And for the first time, they began to believe they could offer that, but not from where they were. So they entered the fire, the sacred fire of becoming. It burned. It stripped away ego. It revealed all the places they were still holding pain from the past. But instead of running again, they stayed. They listened. They cried. They surrendered. And little by little, that fire began to forge in them a new kind of strength. A strength not based in control, but in surrender. A strength not rooted in pride, but in love. And that is why this season of pain was necessary. Because the bond between you is not meant to be fragile. It is meant to be fierce, eternal, and unwavering. And for that kind of bond to exist, both hearts must first be purified. So don't curse the distance. Don't resent the waiting. It has been the container for a greater reunion. The love you've been waiting for. It's not waiting out there. It's growing inside both of you, becoming more conscious, more intentional, more divine. And I know, dear soul, that you've wanted answers, that you've cried out for clarity, that you've begged the universe to just bring them back. But what heaven was bringing you first was wisdom, because a reunion without healing would have led only to more heartbreak. A return without reflection would have repeated the same patterns. But what is being born now is a connection that will not be shaken by time, distance, or fear. It is being rooted in truth, in soul recognition, in divine timing. And yes, it took pain to get here. But what is pain if not the body's way of telling us something needs to change? Your heart knew. Their heart knew. And so the universe moved everything that needed to be moved, even if it broke both of you open in the process. But now, the mending has begun. The divine is weaving your souls back together, but this time not out of longing, or attachment, or fantasy. This time, it is being woven through awareness, choice, and readiness. You are not who you were when this began, and neither are they. And that, dear soul, is what makes the reunion not only possible, but powerful. But you must continue walking. You must continue trusting. Because what I will reveal next is even more important. The next step is not just about waiting. It's about preparing, aligning, becoming ready for the blessing that is already on its way. So stay with me, because the path forward is now illuminated. And what comes next will show you exactly what you need to do to welcome this love home for good. Dear soul, now that you understand the pain was never meant to separate but to purify, now that you know your connection is being reshaped into something divine, the time has come for you to take your place in this unfolding. Because what happens next is not just about waiting, it's about preparing, about aligning, about consciously stepping into the sacred role your soul agreed to long before this lifetime began. There is something you need to do now, not for them, but for yourself, for your own healing, your own energy, your own readiness. Because when this love returns, and it will, you must be able to receive it with the strength and wisdom that only your soul can hold. The angels want you to hear this clearly. You are not powerless in this journey. You are not a bystander in your own love story. You are the co-creator of this reunion, and every choice you make from this point on will either open the path wider or cloud it with fear and doubt. But you do not have to walk blind. The divine is guiding your steps even now, and I am here to whisper into your spirit what must be done. First, you must let go of the version of love you thought this had to be, the fantasy, the timeline, the illusion of control. Because what's coming is not what your mind imagined. It's something deeper, richer, more spiritually alive. It is not a repeat of old patterns. It is the birth of a new pattern, one rooted in soul maturity. You must trust that what is meant for you is already aligning, but it needs space. Space to arrive without being suffocated by fear. Space to unfold without being forced. And that means, dear soul, you must stop asking when and start asking how. Not when will they return, but how can I become the version of myself who is ready for their return? That shift in question will change everything. Begin by turning inward. What parts of you still feel unworthy of love? What old wounds are you still carrying? That whisper lies into your heart when you try to believe in this connection. What stories are you replaying that say you have to earn love, chase love, or fear losing love? Those stories must be rewritten now. Because this connection is not something you chase. It's something you align with. It's something that flows to you naturally when you are in harmony with yourself. Your soulmate is not your missing half. You are already whole. And when two whole souls meet, the union is not dependency, it's divinity. So nurture your own soul now. Speak kindly to yourself. Forgive the moments where you doubted. Thank the version of you who held on through all the storms. Begin to live as though you believe that love is returning, not because you're desperate, but because your soul already feels the vibration of its coming. There are things you can do to prepare. Wake up and speak life into your heart. Journal your truth. Light a candle and speak out loud to the connection as if it were already with you. Bless your own journey. Send compassion to your soulmate's path. Visualize them healing. Visualize you welcoming each other back with open arms and no blame. And if the fear comes, because it will, don't resist it. Meet it with breath, with softness, with the knowing that fear is just the body's way of protecting the past. But this is not the past. This is a new chapter, and it begins with you walking forward, even when you're afraid. This is where faith becomes more than a word. This is where you must embody it. Faith in yourself. Faith in divine timing. Faith in the connection that refuses to die, no matter how far apart you've been. That faith will become your anchor, and it will carry your energy into the space where your soulmate can feel you again, clearly, gently, and without resistance. You may be wondering if they're doing the same work. And the truth is, yes. Maybe not in the way you expect. Maybe not with the same language or the same rituals, but their soul is being pulled, just as yours is. There is a magnetic awakening happening between you both. And your energy, your vibration, can either strengthen that or delay it. So now, more than ever, you must choose to become the highest version of yourself, not for them, not to impress, but because that's what you were always meant to be. Your light will lead them home, not your longing. Your love for yourself will open the space for their love, not your fear of losing them. Let your daily actions reflect the love that's coming. Speak your truth, honor your boundaries, keep your heart open, but your standards high. And most of all, Keep listening, not just to these words, but to your own soul, because it already knows the way. It always has. This is your time to prepare, not with pressure, but with presence, not with panic, but with peace, because you are being prepared not just to receive love, but to sustain it, to nurture it, to protect it, to grow with it. And when the moment comes, and it will come, when your soulmate is ready to step forward, they will feel that energy in you. They will feel your readiness, your peace, your alignment, and they will be drawn to it like light through the fog. You are not waiting, you are rising, and the angels are watching over every step of this rise. But don't move just yet, because what I am about to share next will open your heart even wider, because now we are approaching the moment of revelation, the moment when you will hear the truth that your soulmate has been carrying all along, truth they were too afraid to say. Until now, dear soul, you've made it. You've walked with me through the pain, the silence, the questions, and the transformation. And now, we've arrived at the final moment, the moment that your heart has been waiting for, the moment of revelation. And what I am about to share with you now, what your soulmate has never had the courage to say out loud, is going to touch the deepest places of your soul. Because even in their silence, even through the distance, there has been a truth living inside them, a truth they've carried like a sacred vow, a truth they whispered to the heavens while the world around them believed they had moved on. And here it is. They never stopped loving you, not for a second, not even in the hardest moments. In fact, it was because of that love that they walked away. It was because of that love that they chose to do the hardest thing a soul can do, let go, not out of indifference, but out of reverence for something too powerful to be mishandled. They never left you to forget you. They left to become worthy of standing beside you in the way your heart deserves. And now, they are being pulled back, not by fear, not by guilt, but by the undeniable truth that what you two share is not finished, that your story was never meant to end in silence, that the universe didn't bring you together to tear you apart. You must know now, the love your soul has been holding on to has been matched, mirrored, and cherished by theirs all along. Every time they thought of you, their soul trembled. Every time they saw someone smile the way you did, or heard a song you once sang, or remembered the sound of your voice, their heart broke open again. They didn't show it, but they felt it, fully, painfully, deeply. And now the time has come for them to speak. They are ready to say the words they were once too afraid to even admit to themselves. They are ready to break the silence, to step forward, and to confess that they never stopped believing in this love, that you were never a memory. They kept you alive in every part of their being. And this is not just emotion. It's a spiritual awakening. They are no longer the person who left. They are becoming the soul who can return with devotion, with purpose, with readiness. The angels want you to know, this reunion is not just a possibility. It is already unfolding in the unseen. And your job now is to remain open, to not close your heart in defense, to not doubt what you feel simply because time has passed. Because time does not erase divine alignment. If anything, it prepares the soil so something even more beautiful can grow. They will return, but when they do, they won't be the same. They will be more aware, more grounded, more certain. And when they look into your eyes again, it won't be with hesitation. It will be with the clarity of someone who has faced themselves and finally chosen love, not as escape, but as destiny. So speak now, dear soul. Say out loud, I welcome the love that is returning. I am ready to receive what is mine. I trust the divine timing that is bringing us back together. Let that become your daily prayer. Let that be your new vibration. Because the love you thought you lost is on its way back to you. And this time, it comes not with confusion or fear, but with the strength of a soul who has finally remembered why you were chosen in the first place. So here we are, at the edge of a new beginning. You are not alone. Your angels are with you. I am with you, and the one your soul loves. They are closer than ever before. If this message touched your heart, write in the comments, I received this divine reunion. I trust in love. I believe. And let your soul rest now, because you've carried this longing long enough. You've done the work. You've stayed the course. And now, heaven is doing the rest. Dear soul, if this video was meaningful to you, leave a thanks below this video as a gesture of gratitude for this revelation. This strengthens us to keep sharing messages of connection and faith. Love is coming home to you, and when it does, you'll understand why every tear, every silence, every question was preparing you for this sacred return. Your story is just beginning, and it will be more beautiful than you ever imagined.